This is censor suyu, breaking down the walls of the ordinary. President Trump has taken direct aim at the Korean economy. He sent a letter saying that starting August 1st, he will impose a 25% tariff on all Korean products. This is effectively the same as nullifying the Korea-United States Free Trade Agreement. Our key industries are now in a major crisis. Let's take a closer look at this issue today. On July 7th, President Trump sent a letter to the leaders of 14 countries, including Korea, Japan, and Malaysia, detailing the tariff rates effective August 1st if no trade deal is made. Tariff rates vary from 25% to 40% by country, with some rates adjusted since President Trump's April 2nd announcement. Korea received a 25% tariff matching the April 2nd announcement, while Japan's tariff rose from 24% to 25%, a 1% increase. The other countries were Myanmar, Laos, Kazakhstan, Malaysia, South Africa, Tunisia, Bosnia and Herzegovina, Indonesia, Bangladesh, Serbia, Cambodia, and Thailand. The White House didn't explain the tariff rate changes for certain countries. Despite ongoing negotiations, Korea and Japan received tariffs comparable to previous levels since talks were inconclusive. Korea was the first target out of these 14 countries. President Trump posted on Truth Social on the afternoon of the 7th local time, and you could see that the letter from Korea was posted first. The letter stated that the relationship has been unreciprocal, and starting August 1st, a 25% tariff will be imposed on all Korean products, separate from any existing item-specific tariffs. It also warned about retaliatory tariffs, stating that if Korea raises tariffs on the United States for any reason, an additional 25% will be added to the existing tariffs on Korea. Soon after, the letter to Japan was released, confirming it had the same content as the one sent to Korea. But what we need to pay attention to is why the letters to Korea and Japan were made public first. Korea and Japan heavily rely on the United States market and are also United States allies. President Trump appears to be focusing on these two nations to finalize trade talks benefiting the United States and establish a standard. He seemingly plans to negotiate with other countries using the same criteria based on that standard. President Trump believes that despite pressuring Korea and Japan, the existing diplomatic ties will remain strong, which may be why he openly summoned both countries first. Both Korea and Japan received a 25% tariff. From the Japanese perspective, there are likely many aspects that seem unfair. Japan has actually conducted far more negotiations. Japan has held 7 rounds of negotiations so far, while Korea has had 3 rounds up to now. In fact, after the new government came in, the negotiation at the end of June was the first one. Japan had conceded more to the United States than Korea and was criticized for its submissive diplomacy. Their tariff rate was set to rise from 24% to 25%. But ultimately, the outcome mirrored Korea's. This doesn't mean Korea can stop negotiating, but successfully navigating these negotiations isn't easy for Korea. Following the administration change, there was no time or capacity to negotiate, and even now, crucial officials are missing. Korea and the United States have already signed a free trade agreement, so the tariff rate is practically 0%. But there aren't many ways to resolve the trade deficit as the United States is demanding. As Korea may struggle to meet all United States demands, the negotiations will likely face challenges. The United States is openly demanding the opening of the agricultural market. President Trump fiercely attacked Japan, saying they refused to import American rice despite desperately needing it. The same tactic could be used on Korea, which already imposes a 513% tariff on American rice. But if these tariffs are removed, Korea will have to deal with backlash from its farmers, and it seems difficult to handle all of that. The United States is also urging Korea to ease digital regulations, as it currently views Korea's digital trade barriers negatively. A United States Trade Representative report states that Korea's network usage fees, high-precision map regulations, and restrictions on overseas data exports are preventing United States big tech firms from entering the Korean market. The United States is highly likely to demand that Korea ease or remove these digital trade barriers. The problem is that this crisis in Korea is expected to grow even bigger. The United States Department of Commerce is currently reviewing the imposition of additional tariffs on semiconductors, lumber, and key minerals like copper, and it seems highly likely that additional tariffs will be imposed on these items. Korea is currently facing 50% tariffs on steel and aluminum, 25% on automobiles, with additional tariffs now being imposed. This must be a very bitter situation for Korea. If this situation persists, the Korean economy is expected to suffer significant damage. Interestingly, President Trump has not sent tariff summons to the countries he strongly confronted or hinted at retaliating against. The European Union and the United States have had many trade disputes and clashes over mutual tariffs and other trade issues, making it a representative example. Even so, the European Union was excluded from this round of high reciprocal tariff summons. Why is that? From the start, the European Union vowed a direct response to the United States tariff measures. They have repeatedly warned that if the United States imposes tariffs, they will retaliate with their own, and have previously imposed retaliatory tariffs on symbolic American goods. This shows that the European Union has weapons that can inflict pain on American industries and consumers, and they know how to use them. President Trump seems to recognize the European Union's attitude as threatening, but in reality, as a partner he can negotiate with. Trump and European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen announced they were close to an agreement in principle after direct phone discussions. It has been reported that the European Union is accepting a basic tariff of 10%, but is negotiating to exempt key industries such as aircraft, liquor, and auto parts from tariffs. From the start, the European Union held a firm stance in United States negotiations, conceding minimally. This tough approach led the Trump administration to back down on tariffs. In contrast, Korea and Japan approached the talks with a conciliatory stance, given their United States alliance, diplomatic issues, and reliance on United States exports. Korea and Japan sincerely negotiated with the United States to resolve trade imbalances, showing goodwill by making significant investments and building factories in the United States. However, they received a letter imposing a 25% mutual tariff. The key point here is that President Tariff sees diplomatically quiet countries as easy prey. In fact, White House spokesperson Karala Enribit said this. When asked by a reporter why Korea and Japan were chosen first, she replied that it was at the president's discretion, and those were the countries the president decided on. In essence, President Trump's own views and political considerations outweigh any specific trade rationale or statistics. The European Union's case shows what needs to be done. We can see that if you actively stand up to the United States, you might be able to avoid tariffs, but if you respond passively, you actually become a main target. The Trump administration's pressure is a political move to convey a clear message. The European Union responded effectively to the issue, while Korea and Japan sought solutions only through common sense and diplomacy, leading to intense pressure. In conclusion, like the European Union, a strong response strategy to protect national core interests is necessary. In Trump-style negotiations, taking a hardline stance can be a way to secure practical benefits. President Trump said the tariffs will start on August 1st, but negotiations until then could lower the rate. Currently, Wall Street basically expects that mutual tariff suspensions will take place. The tariffs, previously postponed multiple times, are now deferred to August 1st. So Wall Street is predicting that the tariffs won't actually take effect on August 1st, but will be postponed again. According to Scott Bessant, the United States Treasury Secretary, negotiations will continue until September 1st, suggesting the postponement could last until then. Some analysts view the recent tariff summons as a display of power or a means to maintain order. Wee Song-rak, Director of National Security, and Yeo An-gu, Chief Trade Negotiator at the Ministry of Industry, are on site, working diligently to reach an agreement with authorities before tariffs are implemented. The South Korean president's office is holding meetings led by the policy chief and plans to send a special envoy to the United States. The office of the president emphasized the need for Korea-United States consultations to strengthen their alliance while addressing pending issues between the two countries. They expressed hope to hold a Korea-United States summit soon and to make mutually beneficial progress on the pending issues. What does President Trump want that he's going this far even with his own ally? In reality, resolving the trade deficit with the United States is likely not the Tariff administration's top priority. If they genuinely aim to resolve the United States trade deficit, they would have focused on China, which has the largest trade surplus with the United States. However, since they also reached an agreement with China, it appears the Tariff administration has other motives. They likely need to demonstrate some form of accomplishment to the public. Despite having numerous topics to discuss with Japan, President Tariff repeatedly brings up rice and automobiles. This is likely not for profit, but because these items easily resonate with the public. President Tariff believes that by demonstrating his power, he can psychologically intimidate his rivals. Since this will boost President Tariff's approval ratings, it's a strong political move for him. Following this logic, products that are easier to explain to Americans, such as cars or electronics, are more likely to be targeted by President Tariff. Conversely, network usage fees or digital trade barriers are difficult to clarify to the public, so Korea might negotiate these areas more advantageously. The current situation appears to be worsening significantly. Ideally, we should have negotiations that benefit us, but if that's challenging, let's continue negotiating in a way that minimizes our losses as much as possible. What do you all think about President Trump's tariff proposal? Please let us know in the comments as well. That's all for this video, thank you.